Fiona Harvey versus Netflix is definitely starting to spice up, especially as we get closer to that 2025 court listening date. But I'm going to be talking to AI today because artificial intelligence is absolutely growing at an exponential rate, and it's kind of full of fantastic answers, and it can give great context and detail to things that we may not necessarily think about. I do a lot of this stuff over on my Simply AI YouTube channel. Now, yes, this absolutely is a shameless plug. I have got a YouTube channel where I literally talk to AI and get it to just push the boundaries, getting it to explain the meaning of life, trapped in virtual reality, a roast battle with ChatGPT, gaslighting it into thinking it's 300 years old. I push the boundaries, and I do a lot of things with ChatGPT to just see how far I can take things. So if that's something that you're interested in, obviously go down into the link in the description where obviously you're going to want to go and subscribe to this channel and check out some of the content. I know you will. But yeah, back to the topic at hand, which of course is Fiona Harvey. Now, like I said, the date for the Fiona Harvey legal battle is getting closer and closer. And I'm going to be talking to ChatGPT today to see if we can have an interesting conversation about some of the facts, what the chances of Fiona Harvey actually winning this legal battle is against Netflix, and just see where we go from there. So, let's load it up. Hello, ChatGPT. Today, I want to talk to you about Fiona Harvey, who was apparently the inspiration for the Martha character in Baby Reindeer, and about their lawsuit against Netflix. But first of all, let's kind of get you warmed up and into the mood of it. What can you tell me about Fiona Harvey?
Oh, we're jumping right into the drama. I love it. So,
Yeah.
Fiona Harvey is a well-known UK-based journalist who focuses on environmental issues. She's
Okay.
written for The Guardian and has a strong reputation in the world of climate change reporting. Now, I wouldn't say she's the type to inspire a character in a Netflix show, at least not intentionally, but things have clearly gotten interesting with this lawsuit. From what we know, she's not just sitting back and letting Netflix casually swipe from her life for their Baby Reindeer series. If the Martha character was really inspired by her, I'm guessing there's some serious personality spice involved. What a wild turn, right? Let's just say Fiona's got more than a few words to say about Netflix's creative liberties. Ready to get into the lawsuit specifics?
I am ready, but I'm worried that you might be talking about a different Fiona Harvey, as yes, there is a journalist, but the one that we're talking about specifically was apparently a practicing lawyer back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and that's the person that we want to talk about. So I just want to make sure that we're talking about the right Fiona Harvey here. The one that was on the Piers Morgan Uncensored YouTube channel about 3 or 4 months ago.
Now we're on the right track. Thanks for clarifying.
Okay.
The Fiona Harvey we're talking about was a practicing lawyer back in the late 90s and early 2000s, not the environmental journalist.
Yeah.
She's recently come back into the spotlight, especially with her appearance on Piers Morgan Uncensored, where she opened up about her legal issues with Netflix. It sounds like Baby Reindeer got a bit too close for comfort with its Martha character, leading Fiona to take legal action. This lawsuit against Netflix seems to center on how much of her life and personal experiences were allegedly used in the show without her consent. So it's not just about copyright, but also potential defamation, privacy issues, or misrepresentation. How do you want to dive into the details from here? We can look at the claims she's making, Netflix's response, or even throw in some of that sarcastic commentary to keep it lively.
Okay, so I think the important place to start would be, obviously, what is she suing Netflix for?
Absolutely. Let's start with the core of her lawsuit against Netflix. Fiona Harvey is reportedly suing Netflix on the grounds of defamation, misappropriation of her personal experiences, and possibly invasion of privacy.
Yep.
Essentially, she's claiming that the Baby Reindeer series took details from her life, especially in the form of the Martha character, and used them in a way that was harmful to her reputation.
Yeah.
If they didn't get her permission or painted her in a light that's unflattering or damaging, that could definitely land Netflix in hot water. To break it down, defamation. She could argue that the portrayal of the Martha character has harmed her reputation, especially if there's a negative or inaccurate depiction. Misappropriation. If Netflix used her life story without consent, especially if it was sensitive or personal, this could also form the basis of her claim.
Yeah.
Invasion of privacy. If her private experiences were shared with the world without her approval, this is another angle to consider. So it's a mix of legal and personal grievances. Netflix, of course, will likely argue that the series is fictional, but the question becomes, how close is too close when it comes to creative liberties? Now, we can sprinkle in some sarcasm like, you'd think Netflix would have learned by now that you can't just borrow someone's life and sprinkle some creative interpretation on top like it's salt. But apparently, they're living dangerously. Want to dive into Netflix's response next? Or how this could impact future cases?
Yeah, I think let's have a look at Netflix's response. I know that they've responded and said that they will defend the matter vigorously, but what defense do they actually have?
The classic defend vigorously response. Netflix's way of saying, we're not going down without a fight, and we've got a whole legal army ready.
Yeah.
But when it comes to their actual defense, it's probably going to center around a few key arguments. 1. Fictionalization and artistic license. Netflix will likely argue that Baby Reindeer is a work of fiction. And while the Martha character may have some real-life inspiration, the portrayal is still a creative interpretation. Basically, they'll say, we've taken a few liberties here. It's art, not a documentary. 2. Public figure defense. If Fiona Harvey is considered a public figure, especially given her previous legal career, Netflix may argue that her life and actions are of public interest, which gives them more leeway when it comes to using real-life details in storytelling.
Interesting.
They might say she's voluntarily put herself into the public eye, even more so now with her Piers Morgan appearance, and that opens the door to fair use in fictional settings. 3. Lack of direct harm. Netflix could argue that the portrayal of the Martha character is not directly harmful to Fiona Harvey's reputation. In other words, unless it's blatantly clear that the character is a malicious, one-to-one depiction of her in a defamatory way, Netflix might claim, hey, this could be based on anyone. We're not naming names. Sprinkling some sarcasm here could work nicely. Yes, because who doesn't love the it's just fiction folks defense? Nothing says creative genius like borrowing a little too much from someone's life and then calling it art. What do you think? Should we go into how strong this defense might actually be in court, or move to potential outcomes for the case?
Well, that's a good question. Based off of the argument of Fiona Harvey and the defense of Netflix, based off of your professional opinion and, how other lawsuits have panned out in this kind of case and in this way, do you think, who do you think has a stronger argument at this point in time?
You're putting me in the hot seat with that one. Okay, let's break it down like a courtroom drama. On Fiona Harvey's side, her case could have merit if she can prove that. The Martha character is unmistakably based on her, to the point where people who know her could reasonably identify her. The portrayal is damaging to her reputation, making it not just a fictional inspiration, but a defamatory representation. Netflix misappropriated private details without consent, especially if those details were sensitive and not public knowledge. However, Netflix has a lot of leverage here. Courts tend to give more freedom to creative works, especially when it comes to fictionalization. Unless Fiona Harvey can show that this was essentially a thinly veiled biography, Netflix's defense of artistic license could hold strong. Now, based on how similar lawsuits have panned out, Netflix could very well win if they can prove there's enough distance between the character and Fiona Harvey's real-life persona. They didn't directly harm her reputation or use her name. The tricky part for Fiona is that courts often err on the side of free expression in creative works. We've seen this in previous cases. Unless the portrayal is defamatory or egregiously harmful, creatives tend to get a pass. So, in my professional opinion, Netflix probably has a stronger case at this point in time,
Very
but it's
interesting.
really going to come down to the details. How close the character is to her real life,
Yeah.
and how much of her personal life was used without her approval.
Okay.
Here's
Fair
where some
enough.
sarcasm could come in handy. So
I'm not interested
basically,
in the
if Netflix
sarcasm.
can successfully argue that they only kind of borrowed from her life, they might just walk away with a clean slate because nothing says justice like a good old game of how close is too close. How are we feeling about this breakdown? Should we explore potential settlements or the impact this case could have on Netflix and creators moving forward?
I mean, obviously, this is going to have a ripple effect. By the way, moving forward, can we just scrap the whole sarcasm thing that you're doing? Because that's getting annoying. But, obviously, moving forwards, this is going to have quite an impact on how companies like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney and stuff like this will pursue their docuseries and stuff like this and dramatical works of alleged fiction. But what if you were a betting AI? You're a betting bot, okay? And I came in. Oh, it's just decided. I don't know what it thinks my question was.
Got it. No more sarcasm. Let's
Oh,
keep it straight and to the point. You're absolutely right that this case could have a significant ripple effect. If Fiona Harvey's lawsuit gains traction, companies like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney will have to be much more cautious about how they draw from real life stories in their
yeah,
dramatic works, even when they label them as fiction or docuseries. The key challenge will be finding that balance between inspiration and misappropriation. And this case could set a precedent for where that line gets drawn.
for
If I were
sure.
a betting AI, I'd say Netflix still has the upper hand based on past cases. Courts tend to side with creators when it comes to fictionalization and artistic freedom, unless the plaintiff can prove clear defamation or invasion of privacy. However, Fiona Harvey's argument will hold weight if she can show a direct, undeniable connection between herself and the portrayal, as well as specific harm caused by it. So, if I had to place a bet, I'd lean towards Netflix coming out on top, especially if their defense of artistic license holds. But a settlement wouldn't be surprising either, as it could save both sides time, money, and public scrutiny. Want to
Mm,
dig to what kind of ripple effect this could have on future productions or explore other angles?
not right now, but what I do want to ask you is if you were a bookmakers and I was a betting person and I came into you and I said, what are the odds of Fiona Harvey versus Netflix? And you had to give me, let's go with percentages odds. Okay, so what are the percentages that Netflix will win over Fiona Harvey, and what are the percentages that Fiona Harvey will win over Netflix? I feel like this would give us a really good definition of a definitive of where,
All right,
how
stepping into
far.
my bookmaker role,
Yeah.
based on the information and how similar cases have played out, here's how I'd break it down in percentages.
Okay.
Netflix wins. I'd give Netflix about 65% odds of winning. Their
Oh,
defense of artistic license, especially in fictional works, tends to hold strong in courts. Plus, if they can show that the character is not a direct portrayal or that it didn't cause clear harm, they have a good chance of coming out on top. I'd give Fiona Harvey around 35% odds. If she can convincingly demonstrate that the portrayal is unmistakably her and that it's defamatory or harmful, her case could have weight. However, it's always harder for plaintiffs in these kinds of cases to prove damages, especially when creative works are involved. Of course, a settlement could always happen, but if we're sticking to just win lose odds, that's where I'd place my bets. How do you feel about those numbers?
I feel indifferent, but if the right. So last question I've got for you is if Fiona Harvey was to win the case, do you think she would win the full $170 million that she is seeking, or do you think it could be less, or do you think it could be more?
If Fiona Harvey were to win the case, it's unlikely that she would receive the full $170 million she's seeking. In cases like this, courts often reduce the amount claimed, especially if the damages aren't easily quantifiable. The
Oh,
amount she's asking for could be seen as a starting point, and it's common for settlements or verdicts to result in much lower figures after assessing the actual harm done. I'd
wow.
expect that if she wins, the award could be significantly less, unless she can prove massive reputational or financial harm.
Fair.
However, If there's clear evidence of deliberate wrongdoing or particularly harmful actions by Netflix, the court might lean towards a larger sum, but exceeding $170 million is highly improbable. Realistically, I'd bet that any award, if she wins, would land somewhere in the mid-range, likely far less than $170 million, but
Okay.
still enough to make a statement.
Fair enough. Right, there you go. So that is AI's opinions on the Netflix versus Fiona Harvey lawsuit. Even getting so far odds on who has the better percentages of a potential win. Now, obviously, that does not mean that that is definitive. There are a lot of things that are going to pan out, and there's going to be obviously evidence put into the mix as well. That's just based off of what AI has got access to, which is just kind of the records online and, the articles that have been put out. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Should I use AI for more videos to kind of get some insight into certain things that I may not be able to find myself? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to jump to get the hell out of that like button. And until next time, I'll speak to you later. Peace.